Who here believes in charging premium rates for their services? I certainly do. And the caveat to that is, I also don't mind paying premium rates for services that I want or need. But when I pay for that, I expect to receive it. Now you might be wondering, what the heck is the point of this video? What are you talking about today? Well, as you may know, I had make sure, yeah, we're good. Sometimes it turns off the recording when I'm driving. I had a mobile mechanic come out and work on the Chevy the other day, as I've done a few videos on it from last week. The Chevy had a couple of issues that crept up on it one of them rather suddenly. One of them I had known about it for a while, but I was kind of putting it off until I either had time to do it or, was able to take it into one of my usual shops to have done. Well, my shops, the places that I've dealt with in the past, neither one of them were available. So I ended up taking a chance and calling a mobile mechanic. And I called the guy that had the highest number of reviews and the highest star rating. He had a 4.9 out of 5 star rating on Google for my area. So, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's probably pretty good at what he does. I was expecting him to charge pretty premium rates. I was expecting it to be a pretty expensive repair, and it was. He charged premium rates, when you come out with a lettered truck and all that, and you're a official business and all that, that's what you expect. And I'm not upset about that. I'm not complaining about that. But what I am pissed off about is this guy, although he did the job that he was hired to do, and everything seems okay with it so far, he was not the most attentive to details on this. So I got the truck back when he was done, and I came back and everything was fine. I started up the truck, everything was good. It started up, the air was cold, visual inspection, everything looked good. But the next day when I was doing my, weekend inspection on the Chevy that I do every weekend, check the fluids, check the oil, all that, make sure, check tire pressure, all that, make sure everything's good to go. I noticed a couple of things that were off, and frankly, they're, the only way to explain them is that this mechanic who was taking things apart either wasn't paying attention and didn't put things back exactly the same way, or in one case broke something and didn't tell me about it. Now, what he broke was a wiring connector underneath the right above the starter on the engine that connects to one of the sensors. In my case, in my truck, it's the NOx sensor, which I can kind of forgive that a little bit because it's a 38-year-old truck. I mean, it's brittle. It could break. I understand that, but you should have told me about that happening. You should have, if you noticed that, you should have told me. And if you didn't notice that, I mean, frankly, I don't know how you don't notice that, being as it's right there under the engine and you're right next to it. I don't understand how you don't notice that. Another thing, now this is a big one here. This was a big one. I noticed I didn't catch this the first day he was there because I wasn't crawling up underneath the truck, and I also didn't catch this because I didn't run it. I didn't run the truck very long. I only ran it to, pull it back into my driveway and into my garage and put it up. But when he did the starter job, for whatever reason, there was a wire cable, one of the cables that connects was hanging down and touching the Y pipe, the exhaust manifold, or the exhaust pipe where what's called the Y pipe, where the two of them connect. And that's a huge deal because that exhaust pipe is like 500, 600 degrees when the engine's running. That's going to melt that wire. And a hot wire, a positive wire that's coming off the starter or off the battery, if that melts against something that's connected to the frame in any way, like that could start a fire. At least, very, very least thing that could happen is it could just trip a fuse or a breaker or a fusible link under there somewhere, and the wire would burn up and I would be stranded. But at the very worst thing that could happen, if all precautions go wrong, is that could start a fire. And so another couple of issues I found, I had to move that out of the way, and I had to put a new connector. I had to install a new connector on that sensor. Not a big deal, but I would have needed to know about this. I should have been told about this before, and the person who did the work should have been paying better attention. Another couple of things, my alternator connector, because the alternator's right there by the accessory drive where the compressor is on the other side. The alternator connector, I guess he had moved the belt and removed a couple of things, but it was not connected all the way. So, my voltage gauge was bouncing around this morning. I plugged that all the way and everything's fine. The air cleaner wasn't put on correctly. It was like tilted slightly to the left. The oil dipstick was upside down. I guess he checked the oil for some reason and put the dipstick in upside down. That's not a huge issue as far as functionality, but it just irritates me. I want my oil dipstick to be facing upright to say oil, not the other upside down. That kind of thing just irritates me. But yeah, like I'm saying, if you're in your business, if you're doing this, stop doing this. Stop being sloppy. Stop your sloppy work and pay more attention to detail. Slow down and think about what you're doing. Slow down, do it properly. If you're charging premium rates, if you're just charging, if you're just a $25 lawn guy, then, what does it matter, I guess? Fling rocks everywhere, cut as fast as you can and scalp yards, I guess. That's not my advice, but there's some people that live their life that way. If you're charging premium rates, though, do premium work at least. That's the mantra I live by, because I charge premium rates, but I do premium work. I do good work. I stand behind the quality of my work, and I want people to see my work and see that and say, that's a good job. That's a good job. We paid that guy a lot of money, but we got a good job. And as of this point, the best thing I can say about this mobile mechanic that came out is he did the job he was hired to do, and he showed up. He was punctual. He did that. At least he showed up and he was punctual. But I mean, I can't recommend him to anybody at this point, knowing what I know, because that work was just sloppy, and I still had to go back and behind him and, correct stuff. And I don't feel like if you hire somebody and you pay them that much money to do a repair, because automotive repairs aren't cheap, you pay them that much money, they should do quality work. And, if you're paying cheap rates for some shade tree, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to expect to have to go back behind them and fix a whole bunch of little issues. But, yeah, that's my rant for the week. I'm satisfied with the repair of the two components that he did in that sense. But I'm irritated that, he was sloppy and left a bunch of stuff around it either disconnected or had potential problems waiting to happen. And that's not going to fly in business. It's not going to fly in my business. And you shouldn't let it fly in yours.